Good evening, good evening. Hey guys, it's the New Orleans Talk Network. It's Monday, it's 12 o'clock, it's you and your credit with your host, Remus Bowman. Good evening. It's you and your credit. We're live on Facebook. Uh, Today, I wanted to speak to some of my existing customers who I've helped to get good credit scores. Um, I would just like to say that it's just not enough to get the negative items off your credit if you are within a very short period of time are not going to change your habits. In order to really benefit from a credit restoration program, you have to do the things that you're instructed to do. You need to pull up a copy of your credit report frequently, at least once a month. You need to know what's on your credit file. If you know what's on your credit file, then you know the direction you're going. I was a little disheartened. I believe it was Friday or Saturday. One of my credit restoration customers called me and said that they wanted to buy a car. Now, this person had been in my credit program for the last several months. I ran his credit about 3 months ago. He was in the 600 plus zone. And he went out and some kind of way he got a bunch of collection accounts. The guy only had like maybe 7 to 9 line items on his credit when we originally started. But when I ran his credit the other day, he had about 20, all collections. Where's that come from? In order for you to benefit from a credit restoration program, you've got to change your habits. You got to start paying attention. You need to know what's going on there, what's there already, what's yours, what's not yours, what's fictitious. It's a well known fact that 80% uh, of all the information that's written on our credit report uh, contains serious errors and mistakes. But if we don't pull it up, if we don't take the time at least once a month, you've got all these different programs out there, freecreditreport.com, Credit Karma, there's a bunch of places you could pull it up. Take a look. If you agree or don't agree with the information that's on there, then try to do something to straighten it out. This guy was almost there. He was over a 600 beacon score, and I looked at his credit report the other day, and I was like, "Whoa, you're going in the opposite direction. You haven't learned anything. You've got to benefit from this information. You've got to change your habits. You've got to pull up a copy of your credit report. If you take the time to do what I'm use take advantage of the information that I'm providing you, I promise you, it will give you a different life. It'll make everything easy. But just as certain things, certain types of foods and coffees, or teas and things like that we intake into our life, into our bodies, they are a required. You develop a taste for them. You have to develop a taste for wanting to have a good credit score. What do they call it? An acquired taste. It's you. If you make the change that needs to be made, then you'll never need to go through this process again. But if you're going in the opposite direction, you will never get out of it. Now, based on the information that I saw in this guy's credit report, man, like I said, I was so disappointed because 3 months ago he dropped out of the program. He stopped paying his fees. He stopped using the program. So I have no idea what created this problem. I thought because I ran his credit report that he was at a point that he wanted to be at. He was satisfied, and now everything was good. Well, just because you get to a certain point, that doesn't mean that you have to ignore it again. Don't want to fall back into your old habits. Don't want to fall back into a situation where you're not paying attention to your credit report. You don't want to fall into a situation where you're getting a lot of collection items on your credit report. You have to know what's on there. Otherwise, you can't do anything. You're just going to be a victim to the system. What we got to understand is a credit report, the reporting agencies and the credit report, the relationship is the most important document in our financial life. Before you can buy a car, you got to have somebody's got to run your credit report. The banks are going to look, and they're looking to see if you have good history, payment histories. Do you honor your obligations? Are you credit worthy? I'm saying the same thing over and over and over every week. I hope you'll get it. I hope you'll figure it out. I'm not just trying to get you as a customer to help you straighten out your credit. I also would like to see you walk into a car dealership, hopefully mine, and come over and say, Mr. Remus, I'm ready to buy a car. Or in some cases, some of my customers have gradually developed into homeowners. If you would make this change, you can do it too. Contact me at remusbowman55@gmail.com or call me on my cell, 504-274-8117. Or, you can interact with my V card that's on Facebook. That V card will provide information. It also has some important documents from customers, previous customers who we videoed, and those are actual customers that have actually taken advantage of the program and that are doing well. But the thing is, you just don't want to do well for a short time. You want to do well for life. You want to get this completely away from you, get these bad habits away from you. You want to be able to move in a different direction. If you make the change, the proper and correct thing to do is I pull my credit report frequently. Now, because I work in a car dealership, I could do it anytime. But I don't want, because it's a very personal information, I go through the same sources that I tell other customers to go through. I go through some of the sources that are available for free, Credit Karma, newcreditreport.com. I'm going to recommend that you get a copy of your credit report today so that you'll know what's on your file. If you'll do that, give me a call at 504-274. By the way, if you have a question for me right now and you'd like to interact with the show, the phone number here is 341-8255. I'll be here to answer your questions for the next 45 minutes. The name of the show is You and Your Credit. My name is Remus Bowman. This is the New Orleans Talk Network. It's time for our first break. We're going to be right back.
Listen up. Your customers, our listeners, could be hearing about your business right now. Yeah, right now. Don't miss out on the opportunity to advertise with NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. Call our business department today at 504-475-4793 to hear about our great rates. NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. We provide the people, you provide the business. New morning show alert. New morning show alert. The Warren Ballantyne Show airs daily from 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, bringing you the news you need to know. The Warren Ballantyne Show, now on the New Orleans Talk Network.
This is Captain Black.
This is Brother Al Mims. Join us for our new show,
The Hostages That Fight Back. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Central.
We are all hostages to something.
But it's up to us.
Find the courage to fight back and make the change.
So tune in to become the change you want to see in the world. Here on New Orleans Talk Network.
Brothers and sisters! Brothers and sisters! I don't know what this world is coming to.
Happy Merry Mondays. It's your girl, Mary J. I want you to tune in with me to Real Talk with Mary J on New Orleans Talk Network every Monday morning at 10 a.m. Then follow me to blogtalkradio.com/Real Talk with Mary J at 10 p.m. It's going to be a Merry Monday every Monday at 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. You've just tuned into New Orleans Talk Network.
What's up, New Orleans? Listen, this your man Fred, host of your #1 sports talk show down here in New Orleans. Yeah, I said it. FanView, where real fans talk about real sports. Join me, Bang Boy Recite, your people's man B, and Madman the Big Fan as we talk about all the latest sports topic going down here around the country. Again, FanView, where real fans talk about real sports.
Obtained by the Washington Post. Other GOP leaders have even called for Trump to step aside for the sake of the party. What's your take? Is this the end of the road for Donald?
The Tanya Free and Friends Talk Show. Your destination for the best in social and political straight talk. Wednesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Did you know that your FICO score ranges from 300 to 850, and a good credit score is considered to be 650 or better. Anything under 650 is considered to be fair or poor. Now, here's the thing. If you'd like to be able to walk into a car dealership and get 0% interest, in other words, pay no interest on an automobile purchase, it's very obtainable. 700 beacon score for Toyota. I was watching a commercial this weekend, and on this commercial it said, and it's one that Toyota's running right now, it said that they were offering I believe it was a $2,000 rebate on the Tundra or 0%. With savings up to $6,000. Now, here's the thing. We're talking about anywhere from a $35,000 to a $50,000 vehicle. Now, if you got a 700 beacon score, you can walk in and get a 0% interest rate. Imagine how much money you'll actually save in interest, $6,000 or better. Think about it. If you're buying a car for $35,000, then you add your taxes, so now you're at roughly $39,000. Put a little down payment on that, so now you're back at maybe $35,000. Interest, your 0% on that debt is going to put you at about $600 or less. If you have interest added to it, now you're going to probably be $700-800. I've seen people pay, because most people who buy trucks today buy them because they're part of their work. A lot of people who buy these trucks, they want something that looks good and shows them to be somewhat successful. But if they would just take the time to clean up this part of it, get a high enough credit score so they don't have to pay those high interest rates. Now, instead of a $700 or $800 or $900 note, you can be paying like most people. And last last week or week before last, on the show that I did, I spoke about how most of the advertising is directed towards people with good credit. And that's what, you just happen to be watching the show or watching the commercial that came on, and you assume that in order for, of course, when a manufacturer offers a rebate program, that rebate is for everybody. But the 0% is you got to qualify for. So you can see where you're actually going to be losing a large part of your benefit by not cleaning up this segment. In most cases, it doesn't cost a lot of money to to get the credit report straightened out. With us, it's only $87 a month. The company we use is called United Financial Services. They've been in business for 12 years. They're rated by the Better Business Bureau. They've been around forever, and they do a very good job. $87, staying in 3 or 4 months, and you're out of it. Some companies I've noticed will only dispute maybe 2 or 3 items on your credit report at a time, keeping you in their program for the entire year. With United, they'll dispute everything all at the same time, which gives you a faster result. Because what you want to do is you want to try to get as much information off your adverse information off your credit report as possible. And even with slow payments, a lot of times companies or banks will give you a benefit of what's known as a courtesy update. You might call your bank or your lending institution yourself, but you can't do this if you're not a good customer. You can't call someone who you're 2 or 3 months behind on your car note and say, "Hey, can I get a courtesy update on my credit file?" They're gonna ask you if you're crazy. But here's the thing: you make those payments on time, 3 to 6 months. Call the company, say, "Hey, man, we went through a bad stretch, lost my job, baby got sick, wife got sick, or whatever happened, or you got sick," and ask for a courtesy update to relieve you of some of the slow payments. And a lot of times, if you've earned it, and if you're current on that obligation, a lot of banks will give you a courtesy update. The reason why I'm bringing this up is a lot of people are watching on Facebook, and I want to just say this. If you have a debt that you've missed, but you have caught that debt up and you've been paying it on time for the last 3 to 6 months, but a year ago you have fallen behind, why don't you just get the phone number for that company, call them up and say, "Hey, I know I fell behind. It's showing on my credit report where I was late a few times. I paid you all your fees. Can you update my credit file? Will you do that for me?" If they won't, call me and we'll do it through United Financial Services, and we'll figure out a way to get your courtesy update so that you can have a higher credit score, so that maybe you might want to trade, use that vehicle to as a trade-in, and maybe we might be able to help you to do that by going this route versus waiting until January and having to give up your entire tax money from your income tax for just to update your automobile. It's time now for me to bring you some information that you could really use. What most people are not aware of is how your credit report affects your your insurance rates. When you contact your loan lending institution, or your insurance company to buy automobile liability insurance, more often than not, they will ask you for your name, date of birth, social security number, and they're going to run your credit file, right? So what happens when they run your credit file and they see that you are a 400 or 500 beacon score? then you're going to pay your insurance rates are going to be at the highest possible price because they already know that people who have low credit scores are more apt to have automobile damage. It's a survey that's been done, and it says, let me just read it for you. It says, for the lender, your credit score means involved risk of lending to you. Now, if a person has a low credit score, that parallels with a lot of information that's being given. Your credit score relates to the fact that you have not traditionally been making your payments on time for whatever reason. Sometimes it's an oversight, but if you consistently are slow in making your payments, then this is relative to the only information that a lender has to to evaluate your credit worthiness. So if you haven't been making your payments on time consistently, this generally shows either you're over your head with your bills or you just don't care. And that's what a lot of lenders will assume, that you just don't care, that you may not have the commitment to pay them their money back. As I said earlier, insurance companies use your credit scores to decide just what rate each company has a breakdown of what they'll offer you, what kind of discounts they'll offer if you have a good credit score versus a low credit score. Also, lenders will evaluate you based on the percentages. For example, a person who has a 300 to a 499 Beacon score, and that's 1% of America, has 87% of delinquency. This means this person who doesn't have a good credit score, 300 to 499, has an 87% more than likely that they're not going to pay their bill. It's a lifestyle. It's a commitment. You haven't shown to be creditworthy. You haven't taken advantage of the opportunities that's available to you to change that credit score. So what gives them a sense of peace that you're actually going to make the payments? It's a lack of commitment. If you have a lack of commitment as far as making payments on your automobile, your home, or whatever, then that structurally need to be changed in order for you to benefit from lower interest rates, because the company has to spend more money in trying to recoup their profits, recoup their investment by making you a loan. So as I spoke earlier about this guy who actually we had gotten him to a good credit score, and then all of a sudden now he's got all kinds of collections on his report. It drove me crazy looking at it. Well, I'm sure that what's going to happen is when he does file for an application to buy something, then now he has to come up with a deposit on cable, a deposit on his lights, deposit on his on everything that he buys. Can you see how this parallels with not taking care? Now he actually was out of it. Now he's back in. It's a lifestyle change. You want to have the good things. You want to drive that fancy car. I know a lot of people in my community like to drive Infinities. If you want to drive that Infinity or that Tundra truck, you might want to make a change, just a little change in your lifestyle. A lot of people make very good money, but what are you doing with the money that you're making? Are you managing it properly? Sometimes I have to check myself at the door because, I have a very good lifestyle. I'm blessed. I work hard. And sometimes I have a tendency to go overboard with things. Here we go. It's you and your credit. It's the New Orleans Talk Network. I'm Remus Bowman, and it's time for our second break.
Listen up. Your customers, our listeners, could be hearing about your business right now. Yeah, right now. Don't miss out on the opportunity to advertise with NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. Call our business department today at 504-475-4793 to hear about our great rates. NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. We provide the people, you provide the business.
Are you a member of Bedside Baptist? Well, now you can join Bethesda House of Prayer every Sunday for our live broadcast. It starts at approximately 9:45 every Sunday morning. Just go to NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com and click play. We can't wait for you to join us from your home. And don't forget, if you want to join us live and in person, service starts for 9 a.m. and we are located at 7601 West Lake Expressway, Marrero, Louisiana, 70072, Suite C.
This is Captain Black.
This is Brother Al Mims. Join us for our new show,
The Hostages That Fight Back. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Central.
We are all hostages to something.
But it's up to us
to find the courage to fight back and make the change.
So tune in to become the change you want to see in the world here on New Orleans Talk Network.
Brothers and sisters! Brothers and sisters! I don't know what this world is coming to.
What is New Orleans Talk Network? It's today's hottest topics with an added flair. You get ready because the conversation will be hot and better yet, mobile. Download the New Orleans Talk Network app available on Android, iPhone, iPad, and you can listen to us on the web at www.neworleanstalknetwork.com. Write down our talk line at 504-341-TALK. That's 504-341-8255. Interactive and worldwide. That's what we are. Join in on the real conversation and tell a friend about the New Orleans Talk Network.
What's up, New Orleans? Listen, this your man Fred, host of your number one sports talk show down here in New Orleans. Yeah, I said it. FanView, where real fans talk about real sports. Join me, Bank Ball Recite, your people's man B, and Madman the Big Fan as we talk about all the latest sports topics going down here around the country. Again, FanView, where real fans talk about real sports.
And tell us how you have become a victim in our criminal justice system.
On the New Orleans Talk Network, a force for justice with Belinda Parker Brown. You can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like. Yeah, baby, you can have whatever you like. I said you can have whatever you like.
We're back. This is the New Orleans Talk Network. I'm Remus Bowman, and the show is You and Your Credit. Now, what I was looking at, and I was looking for this earlier, you might have seen me thumbing through some papers. This is the actual discount that the insurance companies will give a person who has a certain credit score. If you have a 739 or higher Beacon score, and you apply for credit, you apply for insurance. This is not just automobile. This is also homeowners insurance. They'll give you up to a 30% discount off what they call their standard rate. Now, because I was an insurance agent, I can explain this very well. Insurance companies file what's known as ISO rates. They file for a certain rate, and then they deviate from that rate based on a certain customer class, customer that they're looking to attract. Now, the insurance commissioner's office for, let's say, for example, for the state of Louisiana, decides what the primary rate is. Let's say the base rate for automobile insurance for most people is about $100 a month, and depending on your credit score, you either deviate from that or you add to that. For example, if a person has a 730 or higher Beacon score, they get a 30% discount off the base rate. So now they're only paying $70 a month for that same coverage that some people are going to pay a higher rate for. And if you're 723, 738, now you're getting a 25% discount off your base rate. Now, a lot of times people will go into the insurance company to renew their policies, and they say, "Oh man, my insurance went up." Now, it just so happens that your insurance company may have filed for a rate increase based on the economics at that time, whether or not the insurance company is making money or solvent or balancing, or their losses are greater than the income, because the number one objective as an insurance company is to stay solvent. But, based on the operating costs and the cost to pay their claims, they will base their rates on their ability to stay leveraged. So more often than not, you'll be able to see that they're looking for the best possible customer. That customer has a good driver's record, good credit score. There's that customer that's potentially not going to have an accident. That's the customer they are actually looking for. So at the end of the day, because that's the customer they're looking for, then they're going to make the rate as attractive as possible. That's why when you go into like an Allstate or State Farm, you'll notice that if you reach a certain plateau, their rates are going to be very comparable. Maybe, one company may be a couple of dollars different than the other, depending on different variations, because they target certain people. They target certain markets of people. And as a result, that information is something that you would know, but the rating of the different automobile policies is based on those factors I just mentioned. It just so happens that I was an insurance agent and owned an insurance agency for a number of years, so my knowledge of this particular information is a little different than most people because I worked in the industry for about 20 years. So you'll see this happening with a lot of people. That's one of the reasons why it's up to you to get this information straightened out. If you just pull up a copy of your credit report, it'll give you another tool in your toolbox to function with. And then often I'll use the expression, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Often you don't want to go into a business and apply for a loan if you have a low credit score. If you can afford to wait, you'd want to try to clean everything up, then walk in when everything's in the best possible position and go from there. But that's completely up to you. Sometimes we walk into situations, and I tell my customers all the time, I say, look, if you wait a month or two and let me do this, then you'll be in a better position. Otherwise, you may need a larger down payment at this time. There's nothing I can do about it, but let's say, for example, if you walked into a car dealership and you know your credit, you haven't done your research, and you have bad credit, and what happens is the company is required to attempt to get you finance, And if you don't reach certain plateaus, then those lenders will make a decision not to give you or not to give you a loan, and they'll attach a interest rate based on your credit score. Now, what happens is if you're beyond a certain credit score for beneath a certain level, some banks will just immediately turn the loan application down. But if you take the time to put everything in order before you apply, and then you walk in, then you got a bigger opportunity. There's more companies that are going to be available. They're going to want to do business with you. They're going to say, that's the customer I'm looking for. And just think, 3 months before then, you were a 400 Beacon score. But they didn't know that, and you didn't apply to them at the time, and you were having trouble. So you're getting a fresh start with that company. You see how that works? Think about it. Instead of walking in and allowing yourself to develop a negative file with the company because you didn't qualify to do business with them at a particular time, you cleaned up your act. Then you came in when things were good, when you should have, and the company said, that's exactly the customer I want. That could be you. I've seen it happen for other people. I have one lady who started out in the 400 Beacon score. Now she's a 700. She's happy as all get up. She's living a great lifestyle. She calls me frequently. She's traveling. She's having fun. The biggest problem I have is people who don't work in this industry that we've helped. A lot of times they're very protective. Number one, they're protective of their information. Number two, they don't want, once they've gotten over that segment of their life, they never want to return back to it, and they really don't want to give too much information. They don't want people to know their personal business, and that makes sense. A lot of times you ask people, I'll ask people, hey, come on the show, come talk about your experiences. They'll say, yeah, I'm going to think about it, Mr. Remus, and boy, it never fails. The day or two before they're coming on, they give me different reasons why they can't do it. But I actually understand that more often than not, it's because they don't really want their information out there. So why don't you give me something new, someone new that I can help? You give me a call, 504-274-8117, and let me help you become more credit worthy. Let me give you the information that you need to make a great decision on your credit. We work in this industry. This show's been on for the last 2 years. We've helped a great number of people. I've seen this, satisfy customers more often than not. I'm a little disturbed by this guy who went in a different direction, but it had nothing to do with us. And when I spoke with him, I said, man, what did you do? How did you do this? I can't believe you went in this direction. What happened? Now, on the other hand, we've got a number of people that we've been able to help, and we're very proud of those associations. I'm proud of the association with this guy as well. It's just that I'd like to see him do what he needs to do in order to stay in a positive. And now we got a whole lot of work to do to get him back in a positive set, because, as I said earlier, he only had maybe 7 to 9 lines of credit. Now, there's a few thoughts that I have about some of the things that's being offered that I think people should really consider. There are people that have businesses where they're actually selling lines of credit. I'm going to caution everybody against this. This is not a very positive thing. Now, if you're buying a house and you're married, and you get married and you want to put your spouse on your house note, that's a good line of credit to do. Now you're your husband and wife. But if it's a stranger who's allowing you to buy a credit line from them, and you really don't know that person, and you don't know what the future is going to bring. That person may or may not be willing to continue making this loan payment, and by adding you on that line of credit, it also makes you liable to a certain degree for the payment on this debt. A lot of people should really consider these things before they make decisions to attach themselves with things like that. You know, it's not a good idea. It's not a good practice. Uh, and depending on the debt, you could find yourself really hitching yourself to a wagon that the wheels are about to roll off, because you never know what someone else's physical or whether or not they're in good health, whether or not they're going to lose their jobs, or just what the future is going to hold for anyone. You don't know what the future holds for you. I don't know what the future holds for myself. If we all knew that, then we would probably do better in the first place. But it's time for our final break. This is You and Your Credit. My name is Remus Bowman. You can call me if you're interested, 504-341-8255 on the New Orleans Talk Network.
Listen up. Your customers, our listeners, could be hearing about your business right now. Yeah, right now. Don't miss out on the opportunity to advertise with NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. Call our business department today at 504-475-4793 to hear about our great rates. NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. We provide the people, you provide the business.
Hi, this is Jill Samuels with Faith That Works. Join us every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time and 12 noon on New Orleans Talk Network as we change the lives of people with the Word of God by equipping the body of Christ to evangelize the world while reconciling people back to God. Let us continue to carry the water to the desert because Jesus is the living water.
Stop this hauling water to the sea.
This is Remus Bowman. I want to invite you every Monday at 12 o'clock live for You and Your Credit. You can call in, you can ask me questions. Believe me, I've got most of the answers for you. We're going to help you get a good credit score. We're going to open doors for you to have an opportunity to be successful and pay low interest for your automobile, your home, your credit cards, everything that you buy. We're going to put you on a great path to have a successful future. Give me your request for information. I'll be glad to answer you. Every Monday at 12 o'clock. Join me from 12 to 1 Monday afternoon for You and Your Credit, originating from New Orleans Talk Network.
This is Captain Black.
This is Brother Al Mims. Join us for our new show,
The Hostages Fight Back. Wednesdays, 10 a.m. Central.
We are all hostages to something.
But it's up to us
to find the courage to fight back and make the change.
So tune in to become the change you want to see in the world here on New Orleans Talk Network.
Brothers and sisters! Brothers and sisters! I don't know what this world is coming to.
Network app for your mobile device or listen at www.neworleanstalknetwork.com.
We're back. This is the New Orleans Talk Network. I'm Remus Bowman, the host for You and Your Credit. As I said, as I spoke earlier, I have to request, I need you to help yourself. If you'll take on some very good new habits, number one, pull a copy of your credit report. If you'll take the time to do that, then you'll have an opportunity to find out what's on it. Now, there's several different ways that your credit score is developed. The first way that your credit score is developed is the different types of credit is 10%. Your payment history is 35%. The amount of credit is 30%. Amount of new credit is 10%, and the length of time in the credit in the credit bureau is 15%. That equals to 100%. Now, understand this: even if you have, let's say, 10% type amount, 30%, and the amount of new credit 10%, and the length of time in the credit bureau that's 15%. Even if you have a sketchy credit history on certain accounts, but you've been in the credit bureau for a certain period of time, and you're developing good payment histories on top of that, those bad ones, the bad one that you have, then what you're going to do is you're going to be able to increase your score based on developing good payment history on top, even though you've made a mistake on the other side. If you have a question about your credit, you should call me. 504-274-8117. You can hit me on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. If you have either you would like to like to see the show again, if we've given some information and you'd like to follow up on it, or you'd like to share the show with a friend, we'd like to invite you to go to YouTube and look up You and Your Credit with Remus Bowman. Most of the shows that we do, we give a lot of information on how you can repair your credit report yourself. That's the objective. The objective is, there's lots of companies out here that offer opportunities for people to become, to clean up their credit, to get the negative information off your credit report. There's nothing new about that. Those are laws. There's laws out that have been established, giving you the right to do that, give yourself a second chance. But as I said a moment ago, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. This is where you need to start. You need to get a copy of your report. Once you get a copy of your report, then we can take it from there, even if we're working with you over the phone. Today is Monday. We're in the middle of election season, and I'm going to say just a little something at the end of the show. We're about to go off for the rest of the day. We're about to wrap it up, but if you do nothing, nothing will change. Right now we need to be focusing on what's going to be happening in about 30 days. Maybe a little bit more than 30. Well, it's in September. This is October. We have an election coming up very soon. Well, we're going to be voting for our next president. Let me just say that when I first got in the car business, and the sales manager would call me over to have conversations with me, instead of me listening and trying to develop the answers to the questions that he was answering me, I made excuses. And we don't need someone at the helm of the presidency that's making excuses. We need someone that can develop answers to the problems. We know that problems exist, but we need someone who can answer the problem, who can actually figure out how to properly answer and solve problems. Now, I was a little dismayed with the video and all that stuff from Mr. Trump, but that has nothing to do with my my thoughts as to whether or not he would be a good president. I personally think that if we can apply one thought to this, it's just like in our own lives, we need to apply the same thought, same philosophy. We have a problem here. The problem is we don't have a good credit score. We need to figure out a way to change that. If you can figure out a way to change that, it opens up all kinds of opportunities to you. And now you got big options. You got options everywhere. As a good friend of mine once told me, she said, now I have the options to do what it is that I want to do. You got to deal with this in everything. Are we going to give ourselves the option by not voting in this year's election, or are we going to vote? Are we going to show up and make sure that everybody has an investment in our future? This is all of our country. It belongs to everyone, nationality, skin color. We're all Americans. This is the most important thing that you're going to be able to do in 2016, and that's to go out and vote. This has been You and Your Credit. I'm your host, Remus Bowman. This is the New Orleans Talk Network.